Hey, this is Laura Sims with Your Career Homecoming. I'm with my wonderful client, Trudy. Hi, Trudy.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm well. I'm so excited to reconnect. It's been about 2 years since you completed the program. So I'm excited to hear because I think there are some details that I don't even know yet about what you've been doing in the meantime. But would you take us back to about 2 years ago, set the stage? I'd really want folks to have context for what was going on in your life, what was going on in your career that prompted you to get support.
Yes, Laura, holy 2 years. Hasn't time flown? But it was exactly to this time of year 2 years ago. Laura, I have a long career in education and state education in my state, so public schooling, 34-year career, more than 20 years as a school principal. Yes, I started young. And then I had 8 to 9 years in a regional role. So I was actually a supervisor of school principals. And it was this time 2 years ago when my Department of Education announced to all of us system leaders at my level that we had to reapply for our jobs. They were going to do a restructure, and there were some, changes to the award, or not the award, but how they were, the industrial arrangements and the employment conditions and all of that sort of stuff, and how the job was framed up. So we had to apply for our job, and I'd been doing the role for 8 years. I'll also say that I had for many years wondered around what I might do after education because I live in a regional area. I could see my career pathway was coming to the top of that, corporate ladder, if we use that language. And I really only had one more step left in my where I lived without needing to relocate. So I had been for quite some time thinking about what else. And I had tried lots of things. I'd had lots of side projects, side gigs, little business, and lots of them, I guess we could call failed, but in the sense of I learnt things about them that weren't me. But I was really into this, what am I going to do? And I don't know what I'm going to do. However, I'll take you back to this being told collectively we had to apply for our jobs again and go through a recruitment process. And I could see the writing on the wall that with a restructure, this meant that things were not going to be the same as they were. Clearly, there would be fewer people. If they were paying people more, then you don't have to be rocket scientists to work out there would be fewer jobs. And I just went, if I'm playing this game, I'm going to be prepared. If so, here your career homecoming was where I landed because I had discovered you online a couple of years before, probably when I was pondering, do I want to be a career coach myself? and and it was at that point where I went, okay, this could be a pivotal time. I wanted to be really clear around what I truly wanted to do and how I could map my career forward on my terms, not someone else's, and be really well prepared for whatever might come. So, yeah, that was about this time exactly 2 years ago. Yeah.
I love telling your story of, oh, I see what's coming and I see the writing on the wall, so I want to get ahead of it. Because I remember you posting to the group when the changes came, some of your colleagues were not so prepared.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I knew I had a plan after I'd done your career homecoming course. I had some really clear affirmations about what I could bring and take with me forward into whatever I might create next in my career. And so when I got the news that I hadn't been successful in, the new structure and I didn't have a job, and what they put on the table for me with the organization was basically taking me back 20 years. It was a job that I'd started 20 years before. And I could confidently say, that's not for me. Thank you very much. And I, made decisions for me. But there were so many of my other colleagues that were blindsided, shocked, And I mean, I still had an element of shock too, but I was far better prepared than what some of the others were. And in fact, many of them were in a really difficult space for quite some time because I was reaching out and connecting with them. So yeah, so they were shell shocked, lost, and really scrambling, I guess,
Yeah.
to decide and work out what next for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them took options that they in their own mind it was a temporary. I'll do this to have an income while I work out what next. Yeah, but I've just felt like I was in the driver's seat, if I can use that metaphor, and I had the controls, and I've just felt really um, empowered to make and I had a level of confidence too to back myself. Like it's scary to walk away from a career of 34 years with all like and this was the thing that kept me there when I looked back. I had been, like I said, I had been thinking about what next for me for probably a decade. Um, but what kept me there was that sense of security because I had an amazing salary. I have superannuation, which is our version of the 401k. Um, all the great package in terms of the award. So to walk away from that is why you don't. It's why people stay. And the reputation and the credibility and your personal brand and and it's a big organisation and you've been with it. It's almost like an extended family, which can be good, but it can also be toxic. Anyway, yeah. So I just because of the work I'd done with you, I can back myself, and I also planned. I used what I had available to me, which was 12 months worth of paid long service leave, again, because I'd been with them for so long. I had that up my sleeve. So I used that as my runway to um, to set up what I was doing next, which was, to create a business as a leadership coach, facilitator, and speaker. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I want to hear how you got to that. So if we jump back to, all right, so you've joined the program. I want to understand what happened. Why did this work for you? Was it something about the structure, the support, the what did it?
I, both. uh, there's the process that you take us through to identify um, everything about ourselves, really. And I think about it now as I have an amazing IP about me that you build as you work through the program. Uh, and some of the tasks I already knew about myself. So I knew my Myers-Briggs type personality. I've done a stack of leadership development in my time. So I knew lots of those pockets of of information about myself. But what the career homecoming experience does is help you put that together in a way and work through all of that in a way that helps you build it into something useful, where at the end of working with you, you have that clarity in the first instance, but confidence, like I said, in knowing yourself and knowing what you want to say yes to and knowing what you're going to say no to. So I think we used to joke about trust the process. uh, there's that, but there's also this amazing work that you do with us around the confidence piece. So it doesn't just come from knowing about yourself, but it's actually around working on your beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves. And some of those stories, probably all of those stories, are very flawed and not helpful. And being able to work on those and have a really um, practical way of doing that work so you can shift those beliefs there, because they keep you stuck and they keep you, because you believe things, like I said, often that aren't helpful and aren't true, but you believe them to be true and they keep you stuck in this cycle. And your work with us in that space really helps us move forward. And I have to share, Laura, that I've actually used those tools well and truly after I finished the course. So even in as I've been building my business, there's, I've had these times when I've found myself stuck, and I get out my trusty folder and have worked on things. And I'll give you an example. One was, I've gone from being a public servant with a career in education, which is all about service, and then in a business you actually have to make sales, and I had this real block around selling. So I've gone back to shifting and working on my beliefs around selling, and I now have that framed up for me in a way that really works for me. And I don't see it as selling as such. I still see it as serving. And how do I find the people that want to work with me that I can serve and support? So yeah, that's um, but yeah, that's been so helpful. And going back to your question, I also want to talk about the community. I know that community is very powerful. In fact, it was a part of the work that I did with the department, was building communities with my school leaders so that they, connected with and supported each other in the very difficult, challenging, and complex space of leading a school. And I've done it since. I've now built community in my business as well. So I look when I'm buying a program for myself that I'm a participant in, I'm looking for what's the community element, because I know I'm going to get a lot of value from the other people that are going through the experience and the transformation that I'm trying to create for myself as well. And of course, that's what you have with your career homecoming. That's the connection with others that are in the course at that time, but also the alumni when we've finished. So I think it's all of the elements that from having done this work for so long. What works for people and what they need as they make this very difficult transition in their life.
I'm glad you brought up the community because I think it's something that people are curious about or maybe even a little trepidatious about. How would you describe the culture of the community? What can people expect in terms of the room that they're joining?
Oh, it's a very safe space. It's because we're all in it together, so to speak. We've got this shared experience, and we're all in different circumstances in one way, because we've all got different backgrounds, different career stories and journeys, and come to a point of making a decision around what's next for each of us in our own way and own context. But so while we're all different and geographically dispersed too, I'm in, Queensland, Australia, so time difference. So yes, there were midnight, early morning, middle of the night rising to join, which was not a question because of the value that I got. I didn't mind getting up at that hour to be a part of it. I had to get what I needed for myself. But back to the community. Yeah, that because we've got the piece in common that we're all searching for what's next for us in our career, but in our life, there's that sense of support, togetherness, um, and even to shared experiences. As people tell their stories, you relate to it. There's the empathy piece around understanding others and what they're experiencing. So, yeah, yeah, I just found it invaluable to connect with the others. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating too to hear about what different people were doing, like, and what they were thinking about and the shifts they were making as well. Like my shift, in my career is not a big one in terms of and it's probably an extension of what I was doing. It's just now on my terms in my own business. But some of the others were like such a contrast from what they were doing to where they were going to go and planning to move to. It's like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that.
Good, good, good. Okay. So, I mean, obviously you've found your homecoming career. We know that part of the story, but what else do you think for you was the biggest transformation or shift as the result of this work?
Oh, I, I think I mentioned confidence, of course, clarity in my decision making. The other bit is now, Laura, as I look back, I got to the end of your career homecoming, and as you work with us, we've got options. We've mapped out the potentials, and then it's choosing one to move forward and to start to make that happen for us. And 2 years down the track, and I left. I took my leave in July 2023. So, you know, not quite 2 years yet from when I started my business. But as I look at the work I'm doing now, well, I'll tell you, I had sort of four things. There was a business that addressed leaders in rural and regional areas. There was, a potential focus on education. There's, do I work with women? And I also had this technology piece as well. And it was, deciding on what I would take forward. And now as I look back, I actually do all four of those. So, you know, as it's just happened, I bring that to the work I do. And I have the ability to weave all of that in as I help leaders lead. And particularly now with AI, which is where I've lent into with the technology piece. And I love sharing with them what they can do with AI and the ahas they get. And they're just like, oh my God, this is a game changer. That just, when I get those kind of responses, it just fills my bucket because I know I've changed their life as well. Like, their work life balance and their, yeah, the complexity and the overwhelm in the world of leading schools. Um, so yeah, that what I thought had to be one decision now, 2 years later, I'm like, yeah, well, they're all there, and I bring that because that's me um, to my work.
And
Can
it's,
I also share too, Laura? Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm going to share too, Laura, and I don't know. I might be a little bit of a geek in this space, or maybe it's just because of where we are at this time in humanity's evolution. But all of that IP, as I call it, about myself that I developed and got to put together and use to make a decision about what's next for me in my career. I've actually now given that to AI, and it now knows more about me than what I know about myself. But it has been invaluable, totally priceless in terms of things in my business like setting business goals, writing in my brand voice. Um, it helps me overcome my fears and coaches me around what my strengths are, because all of that was identified and documented through your career homecoming. And I realized, and this was probably only 2 months ago, I realized what I was sitting on with all of that material in a very accessible format because I just had, it was all in Word documents. Some of them were PDFs, and all of that I can upload to AI. and it now has it in its store. So when it's giving me information, it will write copy for my web pages that are in my voice and represent me and who I am. Because my business is about me as well. It's my own identity. So that, yeah, as I call it, IP about yourself, has been amazing and probably a little bit geeky right there, but
I love it. I love that.
so valuable.
And like this work is designed to last for years and years. So yeah, we're going to figure this out in this 8-week container, but it's not like 8 weeks and then we're done and then everything you learned evaporated. It's you have this documentation. You can return back to it when it's time to make a decision, when it's if you're going to be doing your own thing, to bring that knowledge in, to use it as a starting point for your marketing and communication. So I'm delighted to hear that you're using it that way. And to back up to the thing you said before about, oh, it turns out I'm doing all four things that I identified, that is part of the point as well, as we have to have a starting point. There has to be enough focus for you to make action, but it's focus with flexibility. It's understanding where to put some constraints on, for the sake of getting the ball rolling, and knowing that, especially if you're doing your own thing, if you're paying attention, it's going to change over time. And we want to prepare you to be able to navigate that change, which you're doing so beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, that's life, isn't it? That we do keep evolving and moving forward and growing. And the other part about being in business too is you come out of the gates and what you start with is never where you end. There's experimentation and being responsive to clients and the people that you're working with. So I have got, like I said, I've gone back to my folder and dug stuff out and have a little chuckle too, but then realise, yeah, how valuable it is. And I don't think I'll ever get rid of this folder, to be honest. I think it'll someone, well, yes, I don't know if I want the rest of my family to be digging into it, but someone might be dealing with it after I'm dead and gone.
Well, I think a lot of the work that we do is, it is great for people who are executing a job search for them to have that. But, I think it is especially valuable for people who do think they want to start their own thing, they want to have a business, they want to go freelance, they want to consult, they want to contract, because it's this foundational work that a lot of people skip over, and they're jumping straight to marketing and they're jumping straight to messaging. And if you don't have this foundation, a lot of people will spend 2-3 years spinning their wheels just trying to figure that stuff out. And look, if we can leapfrog you 2-3 years ahead by just doing the foundational work to begin with, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Laura, though, even for people who are seeking, their next position as an employee, it just gives you such clarity and foundational pieces that about you and what you want and what you will say yes to and what you will say no to in searching. So, I think it doesn't matter whether your future is, looking for the next job, or whether it is like I have, and clearly knew that that's what I wanted to do. But what it gave me, and I told you before, in the lead up to this point in time, 2 years ago, I had tried lots of different things. I had lots of side gigs, projects, businesses, registered domains, registered business names. I like, oh my goodness, the list was just crazy. But the other part about this was I came out to the end of your career homecoming, and I had a confidence that what I was about to invest my time in wasn't going to be my next failure. It was going to be the foundations of something solid, because that was a fear that I had tried all of these other things and I had walked away from them, quit on them, wasn't invested in them. And I didn't want to spend the next 10 years doing a series of things that just don't fill my bucket. That's not what I want. So, yeah, that was a fear that I'd be putting, and it is time, your energy And I don't have time to waste. Like, I'm 55. So and that was the other bit in my decision making. I was too young to retire. So when we got this news about it, the restructure, I'm like, right, well, I'm too young to retire. Some of my colleagues, that's exactly the pathway they took because they could, but that's not me. So I went, okay, I've got at least another 10 years of my working life, at least. What's that going to look like? And yeah, I didn't want it to be a series of failures. I wanted to come out of the gates and do career number two on my terms with a strong foundation and confidence that what I was investing my time and energy in, because I don't have time to waste, was going to be the work that I love to do and I can bring my energy to and know that I'm making a difference
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To kind of wrap us up, if someone was just getting started with us, they are opening that binder week one for the first time, what would you tell them to help them really succeed and have a smooth ride with this whole process?
Yes. Now I have to go back and think about that moment in time. Do the best you can in finding the time each week to keep making progress. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Just as we joked, trust the process and just step by step do the exercises and be open. I think that's the other thing too, is just being open to what comes from the experience, from the work on yourself, from engaging with you, Laura, and from the community in that really special time. And it is special to be able to go, right, I'm going to take charge of this and live life and build a career on my own terms. So, with that great opportunity, just don't be overwhelmed by it and just keep working at it. But I know that the time with life and commitments, relationships, what's going on in family, what's going on in your workplace, and whatever you might be doing in community. Sometimes it can, I don't know the time piece, but it's worth putting aside the time and prioritizing it just for the next 2 to 3 months, so that at the end of it, you're in a space where you really are well positioned to make decisions that are going to serve you well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good. Trudy, thank you so much. This has been wonderful to spend this time with you and hear how you're using the tools in your business. And I appreciate you so much.
you're welcome, Laura, and I appreciate you and your career homecoming. I wouldn't be where I am without it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.